predictability. The milkman, the paper boy, evening TV. Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a place of somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone, life is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look, everywhere you look.
Hello, I'm Robert Cumberlander, Editor-in-Chief of the Chimes, and tonight I'm proud to present the official Student Government Presidential Interview, brought to you by the Chimes, Student Government, and most importantly, CapTV. With the end of the semester quickly approaching, Student Government President Adam Sherman is preparing to transition power to a new leader. That very person is Bree Chambers, the current Speaker of the Senate. Tonight, she's here with her running mate, Senator Ethan Roberts. The two of them have ran uncontested in this election, which makes it all the more important that we discuss their policies and really crack down on what they envision for this campus. Please stay tuned.
Stop by for one of our award-winning pizzas. Come join the fun and go Crusaders.
Why did you join ROTC?
I joined ROTC kind of spontaneously when I first got to Capitol.
I had nothing else to do. I was bored.
I wanted to get a college education, so it seemed like the best route for me.
That's something that I've dreamed of since I was a little kid.
We did a battalion run, and right there I discovered that I like how everyone was supportive and no one was left behind.
What does it mean to be an ROTC cadet?
It means the world to me.
That someone's going to hold me responsible for my actions.
It means to be a role model.
It builds me up, makes me stronger.
Welcome back. I am here with
Bree Chambers
and Ethan Roberts. And we're going to dive into some questions that explore their policies and their vision for the next school year. So to start off, tell us about where you're from, your hobbies. What's the most important thing that you want this campus to know about you?
Okay. Well, I guess it's fitting that I start off. So I am from Akron, about 2 hours away from here, about an hour and 45 if you drive like my mother. I write, I read a lot. I am a former actress. I did visual and performing arts middle and high school, so theater is very important to me. Huge ice cream lover. These are all things about me I guess that would be important for someone to know. So.
Hi, I'm Ethan Roberts. I'm from just down College Ave. Keep going on 33 and you eventually hit Lancaster, which is where I'm from. I'm an avid runner here on campus. I am not on a team, but you'll probably see me running just, around a lot. I also enjoy reading, spending time with my friends and family. And I'd say something that's important for people to know about me is relationships are a big part of who I am. Being a friend, being a brother, being a son. That's what I want people to know about me.
Mm-hmm. And to sort of switch gears into your presidential run, why did you decide to run in the first place? For instance, President Adam Sherman, he was the leader of one of the biggest Greek organizations on campus, and he felt that he was the best person for the job. So what motivated you guys to do this?
Well, I know for me, I've always felt very strongly that if you do not see people at a table that you want to be sitting at, that it's your duty to create a place for yourself. And so I would love to see more people of color in leadership roles on campus, and so that was why I stepped up to the plate, to ensure that those marginalized voices are heard. So that was a big part of my decision to run.
Yeah, so being a running mate, a vice president, is different depending on how you go about it. Some people come in prepared, as in they've been planning for a year or two to be a ticket. And Bree approached me about this probably, in November?
Somewhere around there.
That she was planning to run and was considering running mates. And I was extremely honored to be asked to run with her. For me, I think that I bring the leadership experience to help Bree implement her goals and her ideas for this campus. I'm president of a student organization on campus. I'm on a number of boards. I did a lot of leadership stuff back in my hometown growing up. And I think for me this coming year, what's important is making sure that student government is really speaking for everyone on our campus. And equally important this next year will be how can we get campus back to life in as safe a way possible as what it was before.
Mm-hmm. And during your response there, you talked about leadership roles. Can you guys sort of describe the leadership roles that you held in the past and how those experiences are going to ensure that your run and your roles is as good as it can be?
So do you want to
I can go first, sure, yeah. So I'm currently the president of Campus Democrats. It was a very exciting and busy year with a big election and doing our part here. I'm the treasurer for Embrace Ministries and will be vice president of that next year as well. Along with this, growing up in my hometown, I was president of our county's junior fair for a year and served on the board there with helping to make the last county fair in Ohio happen, especially for young people. And then I was also on my church's council. I was the youngest person ever elected to that at the time, and so that gave me a lot of good experience working in a room with adults, which I think will be especially important as we meet with whether it be the board, President Kaufman, members of the administration. I've been in those kinds of meetings and found that I actually, in a nerdy way, enjoy them.
So two of my largest roles since coming to Capitol have been serving, of course, as Speaker of the Senate this year and as the Chair of Academic Affairs Committee in Student Government the year before. So those have given me a little bit of insight into the uniquenesses of how student government as a body operates a little bit. But outside of that, I've had many positions. I do a lot of human rights advocacy work, so former president of Akron Minority Council, a mutual aid coalition that I co-founded back home, and that brought about a wealth of opportunity as far as being able to sit on different boards. For my mayor, I'm on a couple committees for him. So just those sorts of things, I think that background gives me a lot of edge in knowing how to fight for people in ways that don't overstep them, and how to support people while listening to them and really letting them lead, even in continuing to be a voice for marginalized communities. So.
Mm-hmm. And you called your campaign the CAP comeback. Why call it that exactly? What are you coming back from?
Well, I think that we have a very unique opportunity as we move out of the pandemic and into an era that is not going to look necessarily the same as things did before, in light of different things that we know. So I think that was the biggest thing that I had in mind as far as that name selection, was that we're coming back from this place of real uncertainty and fear and life as we know it kind of being turned upside down into a place where things look a little more like normal, even if they're not entirely normal. They look a little bit more like what normal used to feel like. So that's kind of the spirit of that.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to?
Yeah, I would just emphasize what Bree said. For me, it's we know that the world has changed probably in many ways permanently, in that we have gone through this major event and it's always going to be a part of us now. But how can we, get it back to being normal in places like One Main, being able to have people at sporting events and generating excitement for those kinds of big things and little things on campus too, that many of us got to experience our first year and a half here at Capitol, but also first years and other students haven't had the chance to get yet.
And can you guys sort of describe your policies and your goals that you want to accomplish next school year?
So we have 3 primary pillars that we're kind of working off of, which are community, accessibility, and pride. And those are the 3 things that are sort of driving. We want them to inform every action and every piece of legislation that we see come through the Senate, but especially in regard to event planning, as far as events that we have in mind or ways to kind of rally people together. Those are sort of our 3. So I'll let Ethan expand a little bit on those and what they sort of mean to us.
Sure, yeah. So community, I think, is simple in that, how can we get our community back together after being apart or on campus but someone apart before? Whether that's through bigger events, partnerships with AMP around, a party or a sporting event or something like that that we've seen in the past, or, getting people to football games, basketball games, what have you. Accessibility is making sure that our campus is a place that everyone feels comfortable at or has a chance to succeed in. I think with this one, one thing we've talked about is, we've seen a lot of stuff online the past few weeks, months, years about how many of our buildings aren't ADA compliant or they're crumbling. SG can't pass a bill to, fix those things necessarily, but we can put the pressure on via meetings with administrators, stuff like that, to actually see some changes for those. And then Pride, I think the big thing for Pride next year, we'll obviously be having a new mascot and generating excitement around that, but also, I love being at Capitol, a lot of people love being at Capitol, other people don't have that same enthusiasm that we do, and so what can we do, whether that's with events or things of that nature, to make people feel that Capitol is where they're meant to be. Bexley and Columbus is an awesome place to live, and you'll look back and as an alumni and be thankful that you were here.
And you guys, like you've talked about community and marginalized groups and all that. Currently, President Adam Sherman and Michelle Trudeau, they really spearheaded the whole advocating for athletics and Greek life. Do you guys have any plans for supporting those elements on campus?
Well, for me, I know that the Office of Diversity and Inclusion is a place that is incredibly important to me. It has been throughout the duration of my journey at Capitol, and it's a place that has a wealth of resources for students that I think it goes under-acknowledged to a certain degree. So I definitely want to make sure that we're giving them the sorts of supports that they need. So that's definitely a top priority for me, is seeing to it that we are cooperating with them on their terms to provide whatever it is that they feel that they need from us as a body.
Yeah, you brought up Greek life and sport athletics on our campus. I've had the chance just to send an email to the president of the Interfraternity Council and then the president of the Pan-Hellenic organization, introducing ourselves, asking if we could come to a meeting soon to get to know them, hear what concerns they have, and know how we can help them next year. I would say athletics is a group we need to reach out to more, especially next year, just with, they can have people at their events again. And so we need to work with that group. A few other, I think they're important for me, is our music and arts community here on campus. We're just beyond blessed with talent. And so whether we can look at doing an art show for our artists, to see what they are doing. I feel like that's something I haven't seen enough of here. Whether that be, so many of our musicians do, ensembles, things like that. Getting more performances for them, or getting, jazz nights like there's been in One Main before, happening more frequently. I think that'd be a good way to come back to some sense of normalcy, but also get to know those different groups on campus.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like very ambitious goals. But do you guys think that there is a concern that if you try to, cover maybe so many areas that you might do subpar in, you know, in one area, or like it's instead of like excelling in one area, doing subpar in all of them.
I don't necessarily feel that way just because no one on this campus is any one thing. You know, that we have athletes who have had experience in the ODI, and we have musicians who are also part of other communities. And so I think that when you have a campus that is so fortunate to have so many of those intersections, that it's even more important that you make sure that you're working towards all of those separate areas, because they all are impacting people in very different ways.
I just emphasize what Bree says, absolutely. And I think that the focus we've had on Greek life and athletics this year has been wonderful. We need to keep focusing on them as well. But also, you know, as you said, they are members of other communities too that also are due recognition as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have any plans for attending a variety of campus events so that people will get to know you? Are there any things that are coming up soon that you guys are hoping to make an appearance at?
Well, I need to take a look at Cork and engage and see what's going on, so that I can, but I would certainly love to be at just about anything that I have the ability to go to, especially things, you know, that are outside of the crowd of folks that I normally am around. You know, I'm always looking for opportunities to kind of put myself out there a little bit more. So whatever you all would like to meet us at, I would love to go to.
And the screening for this is Sunday, and we will be there for that, and hope to meet a lot of people there as well. And hopefully, while we're there, talk to some organization leaders and work out making it to one of your meetings or events or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And since you ran unopposed in this election, how are you going to ensure that the campus is getting the best candidate? Because there wasn't really a competition to really like drive you guys to, you know, compete like competitively, if that makes sense.
For me, it's one word: listening. I think it will be important for not just Bree and I, but the entire Senate next year to make a priority of doing some listening events, whether they're town halls or, you know, just coffee with us, things like that, or, you know, saying we're just doing an event where we're hanging out at the fountains to get to know people. That is what I believe will keep us in check next year for doing what students really want us to do. And, you know, I've been in the Senate for a couple years now, so is Bree. For some reason, it's like the best kept secret on campus that our events, or our meetings, I guess, are public. Encouraging people to be there as well to hold us accountable.
I would say that, and I'm grateful to a degree that there isn't so much of that competitive element, because I think it allows people to see us more as just regular campus folk, you know, who go to classes and go to activities and do the sorts of things that everybody else on campus does. So I really think that a large part of that is just going to be being in spaces where people have the opportunity to get to know us as individuals one-on-one. Having the chance to make friends, I think, is where you kind of start and build that trust to a higher degree. So,
Well, thank you. That concludes the first half of our questions. We are going to be right back after this quick intermission. Thank you.
Yarn Club, the close-knit group you've been yearning to join.
Welcome back. we are now into our second half of the interview, and let's dive back into the questions. So we sort of touched upon it in the first half, but can you guys describe some of your greatest strengths?
Ethan, if you wanted to.
Sure, I can go first. I brought this up about answering one of your questions, Robert, but I think I'm a good listener, and that I really enjoy talking with people, hearing what they have to say, knowing other people's stories. I think that's such a needed trait, not just in student government or real government or any job you have, but we just need it so much right now because things are either so partisan or divided or people aren't agreeing on things. I think that's the greatest thing I bring to the table. I've been told I'm diplomatic, so I really work hard to see where can we get along or make something happen even if we aren't seeing eye to eye here.
Well, first I can attest to all of the things that he said. I know him to be all of that and more. I would say that I'm told that I am an effective communicator, and I pride myself on that. I can get people to, even if they don't necessarily agree with me, that I am able to bring people to an understanding of what my perspective is. And secondly, I am told, and also pride myself on, that I have a pretty okay sense of humor. And I think that you can overcome a lot of challenges with that. There are going to be times when things don't go 100% smoothly. That's with any administration, any organization, anything that you do. But I think that if you're able sometimes to just smile and find the goodness and the humor in it, that you can overcome a lot that way.
Mm-hmm. And in regards to your leadership roles, you were a part of College Dems as the president, and you were the president of the Akron Minority Council.
Yes.
Now, you guys have told me that you have stepped away from those positions, you have resigned. Why is that?
I resigned from my position for a multitude of infrastructural reasons. This was something that was a long time coming, several months coming, of trying to make things work in ways that it appears as though they just weren't able to at the end of the day. So I am a very firm believer that sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And so I think that, everything has its season, and that we were able to do some really amazing work in the time that we had the resources and the manpower to do so. But sometimes, you just have to take a step back and reevaluate. So
for me, Campus Dems knew all along that I was only going to serve 1 year. That's one thing I'd promised when I ran last spring, about a year ago now. That was because the president prior to me, he did a phenomenal job, but I think he served like 2.5 years. And I saw immediately last year the just bumper crop of talent we had coming behind me. And I didn't think it would be fair for me to stick around any longer than just 1 year. And so I'm keeping that promise, but I'll still be involved in that organization, and then I'll still be involved in leadership and Embrace Ministries as well.
Mm-hmm. Former President Jack Spiller, Sam Montanez, and President Adam Sherman, they're very social, outgoing people. They can step into a variety of different environments and communicate with different groups. Do you guys feel that you have that ability, or do you honestly think that there may be room for improvement as you go into your year as president and vice president?
I think that there are certainly individuals and crops of people that I know better than I know others, but I do firmly believe I could walk into just about any room, and be able to hold a conversation with somebody and get to know them and allow them to get to know me and come to some really valuable dialogue about whatever it is that is important to them. So.
Yeah, you just named a very, very outgoing group of people. And I think I definitely could do better about getting over that initial awkwardness sometimes. But once I'm in a space and know that this is the space I'm going to be in and interacting with people, I'm pretty good about getting over that quick and finding someone to relate to, or finding someone who can then, help get me to know the rest of the group too.
Mm-hmm. And now since you sort of touched upon a weakness, what are some weaknesses that you guys have, and what will you do to improve them for next year?
I know my biggest flaw is that I sometimes struggle with asking for help. That has been historically one of my problem areas, is that I like to take on a lot because I know myself and I know what I'm capable of. But sometimes I forget, that every strong person needs a little bit of help from time to time. And so what I plan to do is to put people such as Ethan in executive positions who I know will hold me accountable in that way, and who will be willing to step up and be like, no, I got this, and just kind of be patient with me in that regard. So.
It's funny you bring it up because it's actually been something I've been thinking about the past few days. I've been working on my senior thesis, which is one of the bigger tasks I've done. And I'm not graduating at the end of the year, I'm just doing it a year early. But remembering what is a priority at this moment and what can wait, I think is something that has always been a weakness for me. I will, have a big project like a paper, and I always get everything done, but then well, maybe I should be doing this, maybe I should be doing that, and that kind of just throws me off a little bit. And these past few weeks working on this paper, and I think kind of just through this COVID season in a number of ways, I've had to become better at saying, what is the priority right now, right here in this space with these people for my life? And so that's something I hope this role I will do better at it in this role, and I hope it gives me the opportunity to improve that skill.
And student government has been growing a lot in popularity and relevance on campus in the past couple years. For example, this past year, I know Adam did some stuff with technology giveaways at events and stuff. How will you continue to grow student government? What is a tactic that you are going to do to boost awareness and sort of buzz?
I think just by creating an environment in which people feel comfortable coming to those meetings on Sundays, or they're Sundays at the moment, I think will be crucial to that. I think that when people are able to see the process and how it works for themselves, that you can't help but be interested, because we do so much good work and have so many amazing conversations, and there's so many brilliant people involved in that role of leadership. So I think just creating a space where people feel comfortable showing up and introducing themselves and being heard will be critical to that.
Being good partners with our different student organizations, I think, will be extremely important. Not just getting our faces out there, but getting the faces of our returning and new senators in different spaces, saying, hey, student government's a thing, and more than that, we're here to help you. And I think, too, is seeing how we can partner with different organizations, whether they be Greek life, athletics, arts community, what have you, any kind of organization. How can we partner with them at events, things of that nature, and just show ourselves to be a good part of the community with you.
And this past year, as anybody who's been really keeping up with campus news and stuff, there was quite a bit of student government drama. President Adam Sherman faced a lot of adversity publicly. So Bree and Ethan, do you guys believe that you're going to be able to withstand the criticism and the backlash that may come from certain policies and things that you do?
Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. I think I am more than built for it. And I think that even in the moments where it does get intense or where people might find themselves having strong feelings, that I would prioritize having conversations with them to make sure that everyone is being heard in a space that feels safe and feels comfortable for them. I think that was why we had so much of that tension in this past year, was so many people didn't feel comfortable having conversations for whatever their reasons were. And so I want to work very diligently to create a space in which that is no longer an issue.
100% what Bree said. I'm ready for criticism. That's part of serving in any kind of leadership role in any kind of organization. I think knowing going in as well that you can't please everyone. Everyone has different motives, different priorities, and we are coming from a certain set. Senators are, the public are, and so we will at times be at odds over things, but finding what we can do together will be important and hopefully help make those moments where there is a bit of adversity fewer and further between.
Just to piggyback off of that, there's a quote by an author that I really love that says, we see things not as they are, but as we are. And I think that that's going to be very important for the campus body to remember as we approach solutions to problems, is that we are going to approach those in the way that we think is the best, having analyzed the situation for ourselves, but that we are always going to be open to a dialogue if someone sees another way. I believe there are several ways to solve just about any problem, and so I think that having an additional perspective is always going to be helpful. So I encourage people to come to us and to speak to us about those things so we can alleviate as much of that tension as possible.
Mm-hmm. And then this is the final question. A year from now, as your term is, coming to a close, and you look back, what does success look like in your eyes? Is it a quantitative thing, or is it something else?
Success for me looks like someone sitting at the fountains talking to a friend and my name coming up in that conversation, and a person being able to say that she fought for people and that she was kind to people and that she did her best for people. That is all that success looks like to me. Whatever numbers that comes with in terms of legislation or dollar amounts is a little inconsequential to me. That's what matters to me at the end of the day.
For me, this is such a good question, Robert. People don't need to know my name. I think what would be of value to me next year will honestly be, getting ready to graduate, going somewhere different in the world. The memories I helped make part of other people's CAP stories, whether that be we host an event that someone gets to go to and have a really good time with a friend, whether we do make a music event happen at like One Main, and you always remember those laughs you had, sitting there with someone. Those might not be things that my name is even remembered in those memories, but knowing that I played a small part in making those things happen would be super important to me.
Well, thank you so much for your guys' time.
Thank you.
That concludes our student government presidential interview. They will be attending the screening, so hopefully you can see them there. But my name is Robert Cumberlander. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Chimes, and this has been a CapTV production. Thank you.